Hi there, I'm Rod Bergeron, and I'm going to put this photo up here on the screen. This is a photo that I recently took in Algonquin Park. This is part of the Beaver Pond Trail, and I have the photo in front of me here, and I'm going to transfer the photo onto this, but this is just going to be a preliminary sketch, all right? So this is going to be I'm going to show you the full process that I use when I'm trying to figure stuff out and I'm trying to get it onto the page. So I'm going to do some real simple lines here. And this is the trail that you see on the bottom right. And there's some rocks and some grass. Mostly this is all just trail. And then over here on the left-hand side, just gotta tip this photo up a little bit. Over here on the left-hand side, you'll see that there's this piece of land that juts way out like that. And then the land comes back like this. You'll also see that there's this one little tree and a big rock out here at the end. And then there's trees that come up out of this rock. So this is all rocky shoreline. This actually comes up like that. And this is all rocky shoreline and pine trees all the way across there. You'll also notice that back here in the back, there's a horizon line with these trees like this, okay? So those are some pretty straightforward shapes. We also have this these branches that for this big spruce tree, which you can't actually see over here. All right, and we got some more rocks here. And then we have all of the reflection here of this. I want you to also notice that we have a very blue sky. This horizon line here. This is very blue. And I'm just gonna write that on here. And these are all the reflections of the trees. All right, so, and then it gets very dark over here. So you can actually write that on here. You know that this is dark. This is very, very dark over here. And it's quite dark over here. Now we're probably not gonna make it that dark. And you can actually see through here, the blue through all those trees, all right? So you can actually do that. But again, this is a preliminary sketch. This is by no means a finished work. This is just so that you can get your thoughts onto the piece of paper, all right? And it's not, it's just something that you're gonna work from. This and the photo combined, okay? And we're gonna keep this simple. We're gonna keep it really, my whole objective here is to keep everything for you, quick and easy. So this is the piece of paper that I'm going to work on. You can see it's the same size as that. It doesn't have to be the same size, but it just worked out today for me that it's going to be the same size. And so we're going to transfer some of this onto the paper. But we're going to use our pencil and we're going to do it very, very lightly, okay? And we're not trying to do an exact copy of the photo. That's not our objective here. Our objective here, our first objective, let's face it, is just to have some fun with our watercolor paint. But really, my main objective here is to create something that reminds me of Algonquin Park and my trip, and is a reasonable rendition of how it is that I feel about this wonderful place. And that's my main goal. And you see that might even be too dark right there. That's a little bit too dark for me, so I would just erase it. I'm trying to keep my lines very nice and light. And the horizon line back here is very straight across, and there's some trees that sort of come down like this and then back up. And again, don't worry about these pencil lines. The majority of time you're never going to see them. You'll notice that there's also a log across the front here. I'm going to omit that. All right, so that's not going to be part of what it is that I'm going to be painting. And I'm just going to loosely put in, there's some branches that come down like that, maybe a few smaller ones. And then out here, of course, there are, there's a space between where this little tree is and where the next tree is, which is quite small, and then some larger ones, and then some larger ones, maybe a couple of larger ones, and then some that go right off the page, like that, okay? And again, you don't need to put all these in, you can put some of them in, and then there's a couple that actually come from this piece of the rock here, and I'm just gonna lightly put those in, and this is all gonna be rock across here too, all right? So most of that we're gonna get rid of as we paint this. All right, so using my sketch and thinking about what is the furthest thing away. The furthest thing away is obviously the sky, okay? So we're gonna start by painting that in. I'm just gonna slide this over slightly so you can see it, all right? I'm gonna put this, this is gonna be some blue. This is some cerulean blue. I really like cerulean blue, but I'm gonna paint the majority of this with this cerulean blue, and I'm gonna do it wet on dry, okay? We're gonna make it so it comes all the way down to this tree line. Make it a little bit more intense, maybe. That's not quite as intense as I want it to be. So I'm not, again, I really wanna reiterate this because I want you to get this into your head. I'm not trying to reproduce a photo. It's a perfectly good photo, and I'm not trying to reproduce it. I'm trying to reproduce how it is I think and feel about Algonquin Park, and that's my objective here. I'm also going to put some of this blue right across here in this water. I might actually work it all the way up into this part up here where the water is too, but something like that. Maybe make that. I'm not quite too happy with the intensity of this, so I'm just gonna make it slightly more intense, and I want you to think about keeping all of your brush strokes left to right, okay? Left to right. All right, that's not turning out too bad. So let's think about what the next thing is that we're gonna put in here, and I think we're gonna work in multiple layers. So I think the next thing that I'm going to put in is going to be this, the beginning of this piece of ground across here. Okay, something like that. And I'm also going to take a little bit of that's sienna that I'm putting on there. Take a little bit of that sienna, just put it across there in a few places. This is all green, or mostly green across there. You should see that. Okay, so I'm gonna rinse that brush out, and I'm gonna pick that sienna up slightly more intensely, go across here in a few places, just like down this pathway. Again, we're just gonna let that do its own thing, and don't worry about that too much. Now I'm gonna put a little bit of green across here in a few areas, and I'm just gonna use this green that I have right here on the palette, and I'm just gonna put this green right across there. Okay, so that's a pretty good first layer, and I think I'm also gonna put a little bit of this, some green across here. I'll put this green in there. Okay, so we've sort of established where a lot of the different elements are in this painting, and you can see we've sort of laid them. We've laid in the sky, we've laid in some of the water. I'm actually going to take this brush and I'm going to level this water out slightly, and just going to drag that across there. That's not too bad at all. Okay, so at this point, you really need this to just, you know, start mixing together and doing its own thing. And don't worry about the the color mixing that's going on here. As like I said to you, this is really just a first layer. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take this brush, and this is a 3/4 inch flat brush, and I'm just going to put it into some of my green paint that I have right here, and I'm going to start to establish some of this tree line that is across the lake there, and I guess it's across the pond. This is a beaver pond, so. And I'm going to do this by just tapping this in a few places. And I want to create a jagged top here. Okay, so you can see I'm tapping this in different levels. I'm not adding any more paint to this. I'm just doing that. Okay, so I got all these different little jagged tops to it. I'm just going to set that down for a second. This is a number 4 round brush, and I'm just going to pick up some more of this paint, and I'm going to put it across here like this. Now a lot of this over here is just going to get painted right over top of, okay? Pick up some more of that paint. Just going to go across here, but I'm going to keep all my marks sort of in that very vertical framework like that. And you can see how I've left this slightly light. I've made this slightly dark, and that's perfectly fine. That's what it looks like in the photograph. I'm going to add a little bit more darkness across here just by making the paint slightly more intense, okay? Just like that. And I'm actually going to put a little bit more of this across there. I'm going to take this little brush, and I'm going to swipe this across here with a little bit of blue on it just to get this to come all the way down into there. You can see how all this is all started to mix together. That's perfectly fine. That's what it is that we're looking for in watercolor painting. I'm going to take this brush, and I'm going to start laying in some darkness where a few of these stones are on the ground here, but I'm just going to allude to these stones. I'm not really going to paint. I'm not going to paint these in super, super dark. I'm just sort of alluding to the idea that this is a rocky shoreline. And I'm just going to do that. You see where that green has started to run down into that. That's perfectly fine. Again, this is a first layer, so that's all going to be absolutely fine. I'm going to take this brush, and again, I'm going to make some more you know, very vertical lines for the trees in the background back here, but this is all sort of in shadow, so don't worry about any of that, okay? Just like that. Okay. That's nice. That's really nice all across there, and that's pretty good across there. So yeah, we're just gonna keep painting here, okay, with the, oh, this is coming down like that, down across there. Now this is all very, very wet, and that's not going to help us right now, but we're going to take this brush, and so I'm going to keep going with this number 4 round brush, and I'm just going to paint in a few trees just like that. So I'm starting down here, dragging through there, and right off the page. Okay. You can see most of those pencil lines that we had on there before are primarily gone, and they'll get pushed further and further into the background. You won't have to worry about them. Just go right through that green like that. Don't worry about that at all. Okay, that's pretty nice. Now over here on the other side, starting to lose some of the shape of some of our rocks, but that's okay. We want this to all mix together anyways. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I've got to tell you what it is that I'm thinking about right now. I'm thinking about, should I let this dry? And as soon as that sort of starts to enter into my head, you know, should I let this dry? The answer is probably yes, you probably should let this dry. And I think that's where we are at this point. We're just gonna let this all 100% dry and come back and have a look at it. I don't know if you can see, I have this little dot, a little chunk of something in my paint. I'm just gonna extract that. I got a little chunk of something right there too. All right, so let's let this dry and then we'll come back and do the next layer.